Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking time to join this webinar. Today, we are going to discuss about data governance and how AI empowers data governance. And we are going to talk more about Microsoft Purview. With me today, we have Shikhar. He's our lead data scientist. He's going to walk you through, the technical aspects of Microsoft Purview, and he'll also take you through the demo. Before delving deep into more on the technology aspects, I'm going to talk a little bit about Royal Cyber, who we are. We are in this business for the last 20 years. We specialize in IT consulting, digital transformation. We also specialize in services, solutions, and software. We have more than 2,500 employees globally, more than 500 plus certified consultants. We operate globally across 5 continents and more than 600 plus clients. Here is a list of clientele. Few of them is mentioned over here who we work with currently. You can see like a variety of customers who we deal with, from healthcare to retail, manufacturing, banking, and finance. So these are the key areas which Royal Cyber focuses on, especially on digital commerce, digital transformation, generative AI, data modernization, enterprise architecture, and also we also help customers do like custom app development. And we represent the data team. So next slide, Shikhar. So as I mentioned, we represent the data team, and our key focus area is going to be on data modernization, advanced analytics, and automation. So these are some of our data and AI partnership. We are partnered with Microsoft Fabric, Databricks, Snowflake. You can see pretty much all the leading data platforms we have partnered with. And with this partnership, we also gain the knowledge on the latest and greatest advancements on these products. And to talk a little bit more about, especially Microsoft partnership, because today we are going to talk more about Fabric. We are a gold certified partner. We are solution partner, especially in data and AI. And also like we are ESIF enabled partners, which means like if a customer has a work in mind, like he wanted to do a POC, we can get some fundings back from Microsoft that can help do your POC. And here are some of the Microsoft competencies we have at Royal Cyber. We work on Azure Portal, Power BI, Microsoft Fabric, Purview, Copilot, and also some of the legacy systems like .NET, SQL Server, which are like mentioned on the screen. And as I mentioned, like we are, from the data team, and we have more than 100 plus certified resources specifically on Microsoft Fabric and data, which is our key focus areas. And we have more than like 100 plus consultants certified on Azure. We also have certified consultants on Dynamic 365 and Power Platforms. We also do a program called XIAD events in tandem with Microsoft. These are all like day-long workshops where we spin up VMs for the customers who are joining the sessions. It is like day-long workshop where you can get your hands dirty on the code. You get to work on this product specifically. We come up with some use cases and we walk them through the entire process of data modernization, specifically on Microsoft Fabric and Purview. And if you guys are interested in learning more about these workshops and how we can do specifically to your organization, we will be happy to help you on this. with that, I would give this to pass it on to Shikhar. He will walk us through the data governance and the demo.
Okay, so here's the plan that we're doing for this webinar. First, we're going to discuss why governance matters. Then we'll be seeing a little bit on the demo. I'll be laying out the uh, basics of what we're trying to prove in this demo, what could be done. Along with that, we'll be discussing governing your data across platforms, how AI is used within Purview, and we'll open the round for question and answers. So AI isn't a side project anymore. It's a part of daily work. Knowledge workers are using AI tools to draft, analyze, and ship faster. Teams want speed, but that also means more data movement, more derived data sets, and many more places where sensitive fields can sneak into analytics. The takeaway here is the volume and velocity of change mean manual reviews are not enough, right? You can see 95% of the organizations are implementing AI strategies. 75 are already using their AI in their day-to-day lives, and 1% of risk leaders are thoroughly prepared for mass Gen AI availability risks. So what goes wrong without governance? Three patterns show up again and again. One is accidental exposure, a sensitive column that is exposed into your final data layers, or let's say the BI. Second is the lack of preparedness and unclear impact. When something changes, we do not see how it's flowing. We do not know what's being affected and what could be the impact of it. The third is regulatory evolution uncertainty. So all the regulations that are coming in various geographical regions, we're going to go through that in the next slides. They result in higher risk, slower delivery, and lower trusts. So the rules are tightening and they're not uniform. Think about GDPR, CCPA, EU AI Act, DORA, NIS2, DPDP, and many more. Each introduces obligations around discovery, classification, purpose limits, access, retention, and auditability. The bar is that you show me what you have, where it flows, and prove your controls worked when it mattered the most. With this, let's just talk about the demo, what I'm trying to show you here. So I'm about to show you what happens in a pipeline that goes bad. So let me ground this with a short story that mirrors real life. Ron just joined Finance Analytics. He onboards a customer profile feed into the bronze zone, a table called customers profile. Buried in there is a column called credit score. During a busy release, an intern bundles this feed into promotion towards the further layers. The pipelines kick off and the data is flowing all the way from bronze to the gold and to the reporting layer. Now, in a traditional world, we might only discover this after someone sees a dashboard showing the real credit scores, or worse, after an audit. But in our scenario, in the world of Purview, Purview scans the new asset. It auto classifies that column as sensitive financial data and emits an event. This event is catched through Event Hub and our listeners enriches it. And then we use AI to summarize the impact and choose, and basically the AI recommends a way to fix it. You could either mask that column, you could drop that column, or you could pause your pipelines. For this demo, we'll be choosing masking, and the remediation runs. It re-executes the steps, and the gold layers and silver, they never expose the true data.
So Shikhar, where
Before
does
I
this data reside?
Okay,
So
so in our demo, the data is residing in Fabric. So we have made a lakehouse in Fabric, which stores our customer profile data from where we are working and connecting it through Purview, where it classifies the data and reads the metadata for each asset. So the breakthrough here is timing. We're not waiting until a report finishes or a end user notices. We act before the data propagates. When Purview's classification detects a sensitive column, it doesn't just raise a banner in a portal, it emits a real-time event. Our listener catches it, pulls context, what table, which column, Where is it headed? And asks an AI assistant, what's the safest, least disruptive action? The assistant then ranks the action and it recommends you what to do. So let's proceed to my tab. Let me quickly switch it. So here is how the tool looks like. This is Microsoft Purview. We have many things here like the unified catalog, where you can see all your data. You have the tabs to uh, check your governance domains, your data products, your custom metadata if you want to add something. And you can also have health management, which have controls features like data quality, which would give you a number, a quantitative analysis of your data fields. Let's say you have a name. It will tell you how many rows have null in the names. You can have a check on these things and you can also emit events on that so that your data quality is maintained and you have a governing solution sitting on top of it. Along with that, we have data map, where you can see how we have created and categorized the data sources, the scans, the assets. You could put in any data source that you want. We have Fabric from where we are picking the data asset we're going to work with today. We can do Azure resource groups. This is ClassBuddy, which is our own custom solution. We have a product, so we're also putting governance on top of it, along with ChatGPT. So let's just focus on Fabric right now. You can also see the scans. So you can run scans on all your data sources, which would update the metadata for each source whenever you run it. You could automate that scan, which could run daily, hourly, weekly, depending on the use case. For now, let's focus on LHRC demo. So here you can see there's a lineage that is showing how your data flows. Your data from Lakehouse is going to an analytics endpoint from which it is going to risk and equipment's data set, which is basically feeding to your reports. So this data is directly promoted to your reporting layers. Now, if I go to related data sets, I can see the files which have the data. So the one that we're going to focus today is customer profiles.csv. If you look at the schema, you can see that there have been a classification on credit card number, but the credit score doesn't have a classification yet. Let's try to mock the automated pipeline. As soon as Ron, the intern that we hired, he's going and he's pushing credit score into our bronze layer. When you do that, Purview will classify that layer or that field and it would give some classification on it. Let's say it gives the credit score classification. As soon as you save it, now I have to change the view again. Give me just a moment. I want to show the, yep. So this is our governance agent. As soon as we change the classification, you can see that an event was emitted, which says um, the column, the asset that was changed is customer profiles.csv. The column that changed was credit score, and the classification that was applied was credit score test. This event indicates that the column in the file has been classified with classification, and this suggests that it has some sensitive information related to credit scores. It is advisable to apply masking to the credit score column to protect sensitive data. Now, in an ideal scenario, this could be automated to your decision making, whether you want to mask it, remove that column, or you want to block the pipelines, which basically stop your data from being exposed. So if we look at our fabric, the data that we can see here is the credit score. So we have 313785, we have those numbers showing here. And we want to work and mask it. So since it is giving us an recommendation to mask it, what I'm going to do is I'll go and hit enter and ask it to mask the value. So it says it has been working and has been done. So let's just close this for now. We go to our database, we look at the view that we're using as final one, and we try to look at what the new value is now. Let's just give it a moment to load. As you can see, the credit score is now hashed. So what we did is we masked all those values so that they are no more visible in the presentation layer where you can see the actual values of credit score. You could do it for any sensitive information like credit card, credit score, or maybe the SSN. On top of it, there's one very good thing that I would like to show you. It's in under annotation management. So here you can see there are many classifications that are already mentioned, like Australian national identity. You'll have it for each country. If it is in Europe, let's say you want to see credit card, it has a classification called as credit card number, which it will automatically classify. If you're not happy with it, you can create a custom one like the one I created for credit card score. Along with that, we have classification rules where you can come and create your new classification rules. For this one, let's say I have created the rules. Okay, I'll have to create a new one to show you. So you can create a rule. Let's say this is demo webinar. You can select a classification. Let's say we'll put credit card for now as well. If not, you can choose your custom one as well. You can see the credit score test coming up here. You can define it. You can tell what kind of regular expressions do you want on it. From here, you can define a regular expression, which will pick your data fields. You can also work with the column name. So if you define the patterns for both of them and define how much do you want the threshold for it to be matching. So that way you can have control on your custom data fields, be it something that you're using for your data warehousing. So with this, you get a complete control on how AI could be integrated with your governance events and how it can be translated into a solution that you could work on customly. You could automate it through pipelines where all these governance policies are executed and maintained using Purview, including the classification and um, tracking the lineage. With this, let me just change my screen. So in a nutshell, what we did in this demo has been discussed here. So the analyst pushes the customer profile number with the credit score. It exposes the credit score, Purview picks it up, it emits an event into our event hub, which goes into the bronze. This event goes to our chatbot, our agent, which basically checks the values and it says and gives us a recommendation whether we want to mask it. And once we confirm the action, it is going to the database, which is Fabric, and it puts or applies the masking on top of it.
So the entire process happens just when the pipeline kicks in, right? So the data will never get into the gold layer, if there is any discrepancies found.
Yes. So with
Okay.
this, I'll be launching a quick poll on seeing whether for your data platforms, which governance controls are most important. Is it data classification and cataloging? Is it access control, data masking, end-to-end lineage, audit compliance and monitoring? So we'll take a brief pause and see what responses do we get. So we have a question in the chat, and I'll answer this. So for purposes of data mapping under personal data privacy laws, does Purview support these obligations? Meaning, will Purview be able to tell where all the personal information of a company is and where it goes? So with Fabric or such data tools, we have GDPR compliance, right? So we can actually put your workspace or wherever you're working with your data and store it in the specific locations. With that, you can see a lineage view, which will tell you how your data is flowing from that data store, whether it's going to a lakehouse, it's going to a report, it's being exported out as a CSV. You'll be able to see all of that lineage within Purview, all automatically classified and tracked. So it works on the metadata. It will read and see and track how the data was flowing through your data estate. If it goes out of the scope of your data estate and you're working on it or sending it somewhere else, it's not going to show up. I hope that helps with the answer. So I've end the poll and I see maximum people are invested in data classification and cataloging. And this is something where AI kicks in. So it is done automatically. That's great. Access-based control. We can actually, stop the access and revoke either revoke or grant access through Purview itself. You can go and launch those resources from there. So you do not have to even log into your um, data estates. It could be simply done all through within Purview. Data masking is something that we showed you. It is you can have it in your automated pipelines where something, if it is exposed with a sensitivity label, you could put in masking on it. End-to-end lineage is again being classified and tracked through Purview directly, and audit and compliance. So that's great to see so many responses on this. I appreciate it. With this, I'll close the poll and we'll proceed further with the slides. So most of us are multi-cloud by default: Fabric, Azure SQL, Snowflake, AWS, GCP BigQuery, and some on-prem. Business wants insights everywhere. Governance only works if it's consistent across platform and fast enough to act before data hits consumers. That's the core requirement we're solving for today. We're at a point where rising regulatory complexity, whether GDPR in Europe, CCPA in California, or India's new DPDP, means organizations face stricter rules on how data is stored, shared, and protected. At the same time, the business demand for trusted and high quality data has never been higher. This is why we have positioned governance as the foundation. It ensures compliance and security while also unlocking business value from data. And with the explosion of data across multi-cloud and hybrid environments, governance isn't optional anymore. It's the only way to manage the complexity at this scale and turn data into reliable business assets. Purview is the governance control plane. It centralizes five things: discovery and cataloging, classification lineage, and cataloging, which means users don't have to jump across multiple tools to understand what data exists and how it was tagged. It also delivers end-to-end lineage across the entire multi-cloud and hybrid estate. So organizations gain full transparency into how data moves, transforms, and is consumed. On top of that, policy enforcement and automation ensures that governance is applied consistently everywhere, whether it's masking, retention, or access control. Since it also emits event, you could have a finer control on it like we did in our use case, where you could have your AI workflows triggering, creating alerts, sending it on your pager duty, sending it on chatbots across Teams channels, Slack, wherever and however you want it. So basically this tool removes the manual gaps and it reduces the risk. Finally, with built-in compliance and reporting aligned to global regulations, teams can demonstrate adherence to GDPR, CCPA, DPDP, and other frameworks with confidence, making governance both seamless and audit ready. But governance can't stop at one stack. The same policies and labels must apply whether a table lives in Azure SQL, Fabric, BigQuery. This means that consistent classifications, shared glossaries and ownership, visible lineage across tools and policies behave the same way wherever the data lands. And with the events that are being emitted, you also get who owns that resource. Once you define it in your metadata and the data catalog, you're going to have triggers based on that. It will directly go to the owner who is responsible for that particular data set. And this is where Purview really earns its keep. We don't govern one tool. We govern the estate, whether the table lives in Fabric, SQL, anywhere. This gives us one glossary, one set of labels, one lineage graph, and one place to prove who's using what. Connectors make this practical. We register Fabric, Azure services, and we extend it to AWS, GCP, your ChatGPT, your custom websites, your custom data sources. Anywhere that you could connect, you could create a connector, either custom or the inbuilt ones. The scan brings assets into a single catalog. Classifiers tag your sensitive data columns. Lineage stitches flows end to end. And from there, policies and automation travel with your data, even when it hops clouds. This is how we govern once, enforce everywhere without slowing your teams down. Purview's AI helps in three ways. This is what we're going to see, and we're going to term it as AI capabilities in Purview: classification, lineage, and policy automation. If you look at the flow from left to right, the classification, lineage, and policy automation, it's all trusted on and it's on governed data. But your AI basically maps the lineage, it does the policy automation, and it also does automatic classification. If you want masking, you could put in policy enforcement on specific classifications, so it will even mask your data or hide your data by itself. So these are few of the use cases that we want to talk about. But before that, I have another poll for you guys. Let me just share that. So we'll take a brief pause again um, for this poll.
Shikhar, meanwhile, I have a question on the chat. Say, for example, if someone is already using AWS and
Mhm.
GCP heavily, um, do you think like Purview will still make sense for them, or is it only for Azure and Fabric like Microsoft World?
It will work for any tool. As I said earlier, and I mentioned it in my slides as well, it is built to be multi-cloud. Purview with self-hosted integration runtimes, you can scan your AWS, you could scan GCP BigQuery, you could scan your uh, buckets, you could scan Azure data lakes or Fabric. And the value that it brings here is that you'll have one catalog across all your cloud platforms.
Okay.
So I think we have decent responses on this as well. So the question was, where do you need the most help with Purview and multi-cloud adoption? So it's initial setup and onboarding. We understand that. Um, and that's where we excel. Connecting to non-Azure resources. Got it. Defining governance policies and standards. Advanced lineage impact analysis. Monitoring and alert. Superb. Good to know.
And also we have deployed Purview on universities, right, Shikhar? Where um, the governance
So yeah.
and the lineage
Uh,
was
Yeah, so
this.
we had this use case with one of our clients from the education sector, where they rely on AI solutions which they built with us. ClassBuddy being a similar tool that we have. What happens is that your sources and your courses data, whichever course a professor is teaching, the ownership and the rights and the way that virtual TAs, basically AI teaching assistants, they're sharing the data with the students and how is it being flowed. So they wanted a governance on top of it, and that's where we use this tool. So talking about some of the use cases, just like the one that I said, AI training data governance, that is the EU AI Act. The high risk AI systems must prove dataset governance, provenance, appropriateness, their bias and representativeness, and logging. So this change training labels now will be registered in your purview and moved into a model ready zone. So you'll have all the lineage ownership. You can run your PII checks. And if there's a gap, you can pause the training of that LLM and work on the guardrails, change the data, and then you can resume your training. Similarly, the right to erasure orchestrator, right? Controllers must delete their personal data without undue delay when lawful grounds apply across every store. So you can have a trigger like you can verify the DSR ticket, email ID, or webhook, and you can have an automated action on top of it. Where Purview can locate the subject across multi-cloud setting, you can fan out jobs, collect proofs on the deletion or the anonymization plan, and you can provide an evidence bundle with audit for this requirement. Talking about the third one, PHI de-identification gate. PHI must be de-identified before broad analytics sharing. So Purview can actually classify your PHI entering the analytics zone or your shared workspaces, and AI can recommend you the recommended action. You can apply your transform functions and you can rerun the jobs. You can also notify the data stewards. This would basically uh, ensure that the PHI is never exposed and it is being turned around to safely publish and run your analytics anytime. The next is cardholder data controls, PCI DSS. We all are familiar with the finance industry and the strict regulations they have. So PCI DSS, it's it tightens your control and it requires strong scoping and protection of cardholder data, whether it appears wherever it appears. So Purview can detect your PAN, the primary account number, or it can track in non-PCI zones. It can block your promotions to downstream layers, route to tokenization pipeline where you create tokens for your PAN instead of exposing the PANs, and update the scoping inventory. It can also open tickets if there's any leakage, and it can work on your unscoped pans, findings to zero, and time to contain. The last one is data residency and sovereignty enforcement. More regions require data to stay local. Cross-border copies create legal and reputational risks. So Purview can detect your sensitive and regulated assets tagged as EU only, or let's say India only or US only, which is moving to a different region or cloud. So you can create a custom classification like the one I created for credit score. And this answers the first question that I took earlier in the webinar. This is how you could create a custom classification or your data which is stored in a specific region. And when it moves to somewhere else, you can have your purview detect that the assets are moving to somewhere wrong. You can track the lineage and you can take actions in an automated fashion. Now, why this pattern scales? Purview scans, classifies, and audit creates your audit logs for all the clouds. So this can be enforced on multi clouds. Oh, sorry, I skipped the. So it can work with any of the cloud and you can scale it up easily. Now the question comes where we can help. So Royal Cyber helps you take Purview from a great tool to a working operating model. We start with discover and plan, use case prioritization, risk mapping, and a 90-day roadmap. Then we deploy purview collections, glossary, classifiers, lineage, and we can scan schedules. We can connect sources across Fabric, SQL, Snowflake, BigQuery, and S3, just like we had the requirement initially. Next, we can also automate policies using Purview, event hubs, functions pattern to mask, drop, pause before data propagates. This could be in a event-driven fashion on an automate pipeline or like the one we just showed you through a AI agent. We also secure and comply with Entra ID roles, Key Vault, private endpoints. We ship audit-ready dashboards. We operate and observe with SLOs, alerts, runbooks, and cost guardrails so day two is smooth. Finally, we enable and support your teams with training, knowledge transfer, and ongoing tuning so governance keeps pace with the business. With this, I'll open the round for questions and answers. Alex can help me with that.
Yep, sure. Let's give a couple of minutes, you know, to get the questions on.
Uh, any questions?
Yes. So when Purview flags something like credit score field, for example, how do we actually enforce masking or protection?
Okay, so when a classification is picked up, what happens is that Purview classifies that data and labels it as that particular classification. In the connected system, what happens is that we see what kind of policies are to be enforced, and then it makes a call to that specific data warehouse. Let's say it's Fabric, and you can then apply row level masking or security, like you want to restrict it to few user groups, or you want to mask the column completely, like we did in our credit score scenario. The power of Purview is that it triggers the workflow automatically when it detects the sensitive data. So whether or not you want a manual oversight is in your hands, rather than uh, you know making the tool selected. So if you want to do it in a automated fashion, Purview can trigger that for you directly, or it can emit an event from where you can run your custom workflows.
Okay, hope that answers the question. The next question was, how would Purview help us if an auditor asks where all customer SSNs or financial data flow in an environment?
Okay, so like I showed the lineage earlier, how it works is, let's say we go to a specific, okay, I think my PPT is visible, right? Okay,
Yeah.
let me take the screen here. So if you check this and we go to our unified cataloging and data map, we can see the assets as 1.7K. Let's just take the same example that we took earlier. We have a lot of workspaces. So you'll see these many assets. So if you go on the lineage, that's where you can see how the data is flowing. So let's say the SSN was identified with an LHRC demo. So you can see how that SSN is flowing and where is it going. So you'll have your triggers on Lakehouse. You'll have your triggers. Let's say your data pipelines are running and pushing the data in your SQL endpoint, and then from directly to the Power BI dataset from where the report is fetching data. So you can create triggers on each level. So either I want to mask it at this certain point of time, or I want to stop the pipeline and mask it from the lakehouse itself. So that's how you could track the lineage on how it's working.
Okay. One more question was around, like, we have seen catalogs become shelfware in the past. How do you make sure like Purview actually gets used by business teams, not just IT? This is a pretty common question that we encounter, right?
Okay, so one way to achieve this is how we did it for our demo, right? You can actually work on these events and push those events to your teams, Slack, or any channel where you can have the actions being done, like how I put on my chatbot that, okay, mask it. So you're not actually going and using the tool per se. You're not going to open the Purview. You're not going to go and check the data maps, check the lineage, and then see, oh, here is the problem, whether I want to work with this. And then I go and click on that asset, go to the data warehouse, be it Fabric, Databricks, wherever it is, and then go and apply the masking. I could do that by triggering a simple trigger from my chatbot, asking it to mask it or change it. So that's how we could enforce the teams to basically use this tool by making it easier in a chat style fashion. That's one recommendation.
Okay. We'll take like one last question, which is about KPIs. What KPIs should a data leader track to measure the success of Purview rollout?
So there could be many, and I believe it basically depends on the business use cases. But let me just pick a few. Like one could be like the example I told you. How many percent of assets that you scanned are coming up, and how many assets are not being scanned? One could be the percentage of your assets with sensitivity labels applied. One could be the number of nulls in your data. The other would be the number of automated policy enforcements rather than the manual ones. So these could be few of the KPIs that you would want to work with.
Okay.
Uh,
With that, like, we are done with the Q&A. I have one more announcement. We are doing a event at Microsoft Aon Center here in Chicago. If you are in and around Chicago area, this event is going to be on October 9th, and you will get email communication from us to register for this event. Feel free to register for this event, and meet us at the Aon Center at the Microsoft office. And it's going to be like a technical event, mostly on Microsoft Fabric and Purview. And we would love to see you all for attending this event and gaining more knowledge. And with that, we conclude this session. And thank you all for taking time to join us on this event and making this successful. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much.